Well, we are starting with that story for our press review. Solange Mugin is here in studio with me. Solange, take us through how the French papers are covering this expected verdict later on Friday.
Well, let's begin with the local press. If we look at the Dépêche du Midi, it says today is the big day. Other papers like the Midi Libre, they are looking at focusing on yesterday's rather smaller turnout for the 12th day of national strikes. And then in the northern the region north of Lyon, it asks, what is the path forward now? Now, this is a question that the national papers are asking as well. Le Parisien, it says that Macron is weighing how to connect with the French again, or, quote, to get back into the field and meet with constituents. But that comes with risks of protests and insults. At the same time, L'Opinion says that we need to move on from this as quickly as possible. It says that if the Constitutional Council okays the policy, then Macron should apply it immediately so as to close this chapter, it says, that has been so negative for the executive. Or to open the next chapter, Politico wonders if Macron will change prime ministers. Will Elizabeth Borne be Macron's fall gal, it asks, noting that such a change would not likely change Macron's vision for France and his policies. On the left, L'Humanité, it says the pressure of the streets is a sign that today's verdict will not end this. It says that regardless of what they say, the Constitutional Council says a democratic crisis is underway, one that has exhausted faith in France's democratic institutions. It says that a new republic could be in the cards. Also on the left, Libération has a bit of an ironic cover today. In the background, the police, but it says in its headline that a serene calm has descended upon France as it awaits the Constitutional Council's verdict on the constitutionality of this law. It profiles today the 9 sages, or the council members, adding that they rarely are so much at the center of France's political conversation.
Turning now to the US, Solange, where one of its pillars of democracy, the Supreme Court, is in the headlines there.
Yeah, the court is extensively in the American press, namely in regard to 2 different stories today. The first is in regard to from ProPublica. It has levied more accusations against Justice Clarence Thomas. The investigative nonprofit site found that Thomas did not disclose his property sales to a billionaire who we see here. This comes after revelations that the justice also accepted lavish vacations from the real estate mogul. Now, the Washington Post, it argues that this is new territory. It says it is dangerous for the justice system in the U.S. and for the court. In the opinion piece, it says it calls for an ethics investigation. But for some conservative newspapers, this is a smear campaign of Clarence Thomas. The Wall Street Journal's editorial board wrote last week, when the vacation scandal broke, that ProPublica is, quote, bad polemicists who don't have anything to report, end quote, because in the Journal's view, they say that this is, quote, all ugly politics. The left is furious. It lost control of the court and it wants it back by whatever means possible.
And what's that second story on the Supreme Court, Solange?
Well, as the New York Times tells us today, the abortion issue is back at the Supreme Court's door with a request by the Justice Department to weigh in on abortion pills. But Slate warns that the anti-abortion movement here has made a tactical error. In its view, it is making a major enemy, big pharma and biotech. It says it has, quote, awakened a sleeping giant that is well-funded and a politically connected foe. Now, in regard to the anti-abortion movement, the Florida legislature is in the headlines as well. It has okayed a bill to ban abortions after the 6-week mark, when most people don't know they're pregnant. It would also ban abortion pills sent by mail. The AP notes that the Associated Press notes that Governor DeSantis is likely to okay this more restrictive ban, noting that he is gearing up for a run for president. But the Sun Sentinel, the local paper, says that that 75% of Floridians are against extreme bans. So DeSantis is doing, according to this opinion piece, what he's doing is to enamor, quote, his extremist MAGA base to the detriment, it argues, for the lives of women and girls in Florida and also other states surrounding Florida that even have full stop bans.
Finally, Solange, you're leaving us with some good news for those of us with sweet tooth.
Yes, it's good news about all those ice cream lovers out there. The Atlantic tells us two things in this article. First is that study after study have shown that eating ice cream actually lowers the risk of heart disease, and of heart attacks, and type 2 diabetes. That dairy products can actually help lower one's blood pressure, and especially ice cream. It says there is an ice cream signal, or that ice cream eaters fare better than many. In the People's Pharmacy recap of this Atlantic article, it explains that nutritional scientists do not know why this is, but that our biases about, and their biases about fat and milk may be the source of this silence. So that is some pretty great news out there. Treat yourself to that scoop of ice cream with a little less guilt. But if you are not buying this good news about ice cream, Pop Sugar has an alternative for us. It's a viral trend that's taking TikTok, and it explains that the world frozen dessert of cottage cheese ice cream is going viral, and so it researched this, and it found that the dessert is rich, creamy, and has 200% more protein than vanilla ice cream. But does it taste as good? The Pop Sugar, it concludes, absolutely not. It will never fully hold a candle, it says, to real ice cream, which remains, to use the French expression, the crème de la crème.
Nothing's better than the real thing, it seems, Solange. Thank you so much for that. That was Solange Moujon with our press review.